I'm Dave Whalley from K2 Engineering. Yeah, I've been in the electronics industry for 15 years. Before that I was in the mechanical industry. And K2 Engineering has been around since 1995, designing printed circuit boards for almost every customer and every industry that you can think of, from telecommunications to consumer products, to commercial products, to industrial products, to military products. What we do is we start off with the engineer schematic and take that and create the printed circuit board from that schematic. So it is the engineer's board. And we never lose sight that it is the engineer's board. Well, we also offer the fab and prototype services, so that we can take that layout and make a physical prototype, usually in the 5 to 25 piece range, so the engineers can then go back to their lab, test it out, debug it, add the software, and complete their product. One of the things is the industry is always changing. Everything is trying to be smaller, and that's how the electronics industry reduces their cost, is by getting things smaller and smaller and smaller. And along with that, now what you've got is a new industry in the Boston area, robotics. So we've done a lot of robotics boards. And then all of a sudden, now it's wearable devices. So it's products that people can wear from, for example, the best well-known one is iPad's watch. But there's plenty of other companies working on different things, from time clocks to stuff for doctors and nurses to keep track of where they are in the hospital, what they're doing, be able to allow proof that they did something without having to writing it all down by hand. Everything's, as I mentioned, getting smaller. They're trying to get more stuff on each board, and that's just a constant in the electronics industry. When you think about it, every product is becoming an electronic product. Your washing machines, your dishwashers, all kinds of devices to monitor yourself, or just for exercise workouts, not even just for rehab, for just people going out and doing their own exercising and keeping track of all that data that you're creating. In your car, you've got your GPS system, all that kind of stuff. So everything's going that way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The cost of the electronic devices is being driven down lower and lower, and the ICs have more and more processing power for a cheaper price, so that's why you're able to do all those kinds of devices. While we never recommending converting designs from one software package to another, we do help customers do that. So on one hand, we're saying don't do it, but if you absolutely have to do it, we can help you with it. And the advantage that we have by being a larger design firm with the 3 different platforms, we can have 2 of the platforms called right up, do the conversion, look back and forth, double check, and make sure that things did convert correctly. We've got customers that are startup companies with serious venture capital behind them. The latest one that we're working with has a round of $100 million of venture capital financing. They're doing something in the medical industry. I can't obviously say what exactly they're doing. They've gone out and hired 5 or 7 engineers. They're constantly developing little boards to fill out their whole platform of what they're doing. Then we have some of your larger electronic companies, people that Cisco, for example, is a customer of ours. We did a board for them that had over 25,000 components all on one board. It took a year to design it, and we had at times up to 5 different people working on it all at the same time. You'd have to use a Lego to do something like that, because you can work on different portions of the board at the same time with their software. You couldn't do that with pads, for example. Then we have other little customers that will design 2 or 3 boards a year. So I won't hear from them for 9 months. All of a sudden they've got a flurry of activity where they need to get the design, the prototype, and the assembly, and where they got a trade show they're going to, they want to show it off. So we got to do this all in 6 weeks, or some crazy schedule. And again, we're set up to respond to those kinds of challenges. So, and again, we're large enough that we've got enough experience in the digital world, the analog world, and the RF world. And quite honestly, now most of the boards have all three on the same board. Well, we've got a couple of advantages. One, the size of the company. It's big enough that we can throw a lot of resources at a project when we need to, yet it's small enough that we're going to give our customers a lot of attention. Secondly, we do the fab and prototype that I talked about. We don't, even if you're not going to have us do your fab and prototype, because we do fab and prototype, I'm constantly giving feedback back to my designers saying, hey, you did this and it made it harder to assemble. All right, so don't do that next time. So we're giving that feedback, whereas a lot of outside design firms, they never get that design for manufacturability feedback. We do. I give that back to my designers. We have a system set up on the Allegro side where we have somebody that just does the library development, the footprints. Most important thing on a design is getting the footprint correct, because if you don't have the footprint correct, you go out, build your raw boards, start to build your assemblies, and all of a sudden you can't put an IC on the board and you have to redo everything. Now you're pushing yourself out another 6 weeks. So we have this system where we have a librarian, totally dedicated, really good at doing that. We actually have 2 librarians. Then we have the designers, they're just focused on designing, laying out, and routing the board. And we have somebody else that goes in and does all the assembly drawings. And then lastly, we have somebody that looks at it from a quality standpoint and then puts the deliverable package together that we then deliver to the customer. The deliverable package is more complete than most people. We put everything in there that we've run into. So we don't just put Gerbers. If somebody asks for Gerbers, we automatically put Gerbers, the ODB++, and other test software, and so that when someone gets a package, they don't have to come back and say, oh geez, can you add this, can you add that? It's all there and all there the first time. One point before I got to the company many years ago, it was all revolving around telecommunications. But when that bubble burst, we realized that you can't be in just one industry. So at that point, we went out and made sure that we had experience and had experienced people from enough different industries to be able to handle a wide range of work. A librarian has to be exact, because if he's wrong, it shows up. And not everybody has that attention to detail to the nth degree. So what we found is a couple librarians that don't, that really pay attention to that detail. And then that allows the designers who might be very good at placement and routing, but not so good at the detail of doing a footprint, to be able to do that portion and hopefully do it faster. So we think that it gives us a better board, but also a less expensive cost to our customers, which is obviously critical as well in this day and age with budgets. My belief is if you can dream it, somebody can make it. So when you go back and you look at Dick Tracy cartoons, and everything that's in there is coming true. So, it's going to be just more and more of that. I mean, they're talking about, driverless cars. They've got the toll systems. It's just going to be more seamless communication between data, so that somebody doesn't have to sit there and fat finger something in. It's just, okay, I want to put this over here, do this, do that. So the products are unlimited. Right now we've been working with some customers that have been doing DNA sequencers, and what they're trying to get to the point where they can take and do a DNA of somebody, that's a patient that's sick, and they can tell you which medicine will work for that person. And there might be a person in the next bed with the exact same illness, but because their DNA is different, they'll take a different medicine. And so it's going to revolutionize medical treatments. It's going to take some of the drugs that you can't give anybody because the side effects for some people are really bad, but for some people there's no side effects. You're going to be able to give those drugs to people without having side effects. So it's going to revolutionize the medical world as well.
That's tremendous.
Well, the greatest challenge is experienced designers, because the designers that we have, they got unbelievable experience in two ways. One, they were through, when printed circuit boards first came out, you actually designed them on a drafting board, you then blew the design up 4:1, and you actually laid tape and did all the traces with tape. So they saw that process, then they got involved with CAD and got trained by the big companies, the digital equipment corporations, the Wangs, this Sagamore, in the networking world. Companies aren't looking to train their people that way anymore. They want to hire people that are trained. So my fear is that what happens if all my designers become old, as they get older and they retire, where do I get younger designers? That may be one of the biggest challenges that we face in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
head down to
This
the
morning.
office. Yeah.
I guess that's a long day. Well, thanks for your time, man. And you know,
It's
obviously.
interesting to see what comes out of this.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, you never answered the question the other day.
What's that?
How do you get paid, or how do you charge, or how do you handle that whole thing?
Well, you know, I probably would, you know, I have a, you know, I kind of break it up by getting paid by the video
Yep.
or by, you know, a service. You know, it's kind of service based. You choose this, you choose that, you choose the SEO and combine them rather than, you know, saying, oh, here's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you get the choice of making one video or 10, or one video and then letting us, you know, make some out of, you know, a bunch of slides that you give us, and we get somebody to read them into, you know, voiceover, so that, you know, we're just, you know, taking some material.
No, you take the videos and you put them at some point in the website as well.
Well, yeah,
to drive the traffic.
generally you'd want them on the website as well.
Yep.
Not so much to draw the traffic, but so that when people do go to your site, if they click on your website on YouTube, they're looking for something that comes up and they say, oh shit, that's just what I want to hear about. And then they click on the link, it's going to go right to your website, to that section of videos. And they'll all be there like, you know, oh great, well I got my own little library and here's the company. Now, if they decide, you know, that they're really just interested in, you know, continuing to look around, what will happen next, because of the way we'll set it up, is so they watch you, and we'll go, you'll hop right to your next one, and your next one, and your next one, until they shut it off, or until they decide to key in something else in the URL or the search bar in YouTube. They're going to just be, because you have a YouTube, a channel for K2 Engineering, it'll just go through, it'll keep going through them until it exhausts them, like a playlist. So now, linking them together, so that's, you know, it's creating a channel is one activity, doing videos is another, and then doing the SEO of them so that they,
What's SEO mean?
search engine optimization, you know. And it's basically, it's, you know.
No, that's the most important thing. I know what, I just didn't know what the line is.
Right, yeah, yeah. And then, so that when, you know, when somebody does a search, it shows up right on that page, and you,
Yep.
and you can, like the overviews that I had showed you about Freedom CAD, and, you know, you can measure the effectiveness of what you do. And every couple of months you go into similarsites.com and you type in those two, you'll see your ratings go up, or those go down, or that kind of thing. So that would be the service. So again, it would be, you know, videos, SEO would be separate. Then we can make our own videos in house without coming out to your place, and that would be obviously less expensive. You know, I really hadn't thought about adding website development.